Please turn on your cameras. Okay, are we good? Sige. The topic for today is I was given 30 points for your exam, and then I'll be asking a few questions during the discussion. Okay. Scan ko lang yung, okay, good. Doktora, what's your name? Pasabal? Pasabar, sorry. Show me your face, Doktora.
Oh, is my camera not showing po?
It's showing half of your face.
Oh, sorry. Here. Let me.
Sit a little higher or maybe put down your camera a little lower. Okay, sige, let's go. We'll have a little recitation, but it will be graded then today. So listen dito, pati yung exam ninyo dito na rin. Sandali. Okay, I'm in the OR right now. So pagtsagaan nyo na muna, ha? Right. So, be a graded recitation. Sabay na natin. Right. So you'll be able to cover the following. We'll be starting from the skin outside, and then we'll be going inside from head going down hanggang sa expert. Okay. You can interrupt me anytime. The questions will all be from this lecture. I will not get from any other book. Basta dito lang sa lecture na. You can interrupt me anytime with your questions. So let's start with the skin. Pagka skin masses, madali lang yan i-diagnose. Let's start with the benign ones. Ano? Okay. Yung mga benign, dalawa yon. So if the mass moves with the skin, tingnan nyo tong ano ko. Tingnan nyo tong knuckle ko. Tingnan ko lang kung, let me see if I can see myself. Hold on. Yeah, so if you can see my knuckle, ano? So if you can slide the skin over the mass like this one, so it's not a skin mass. So obviously it will be a subcutaneous mass, yung most common lipoma yun. So skin glides over the mass. But if the skin moves with the mass, it must be a skin tumor, maybe a malignancy, or most commonly it will be an epidermal cyst. Yung epidermal cyst, parang blackheads lang yan. So it's the most common one that you will see. Okay. Also, if they give you the history that if you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6th and 7th bullet sa ilalim. If you look at the 6th and 7th bullet, very common history that the skin is normal, intact, and there is a tumor rising beneath the skin. And most of the time, the skin will be intact until the very last part of the cancer. Unlike in the skin malignancies, it will start as a non-healing wound or a non-healing ulcer. Outright, the skin will be the first problem, and then it's flat. So I hope you get the definition. So let's start with the most common one that you will see. This is an epidermal cyst. Okay. Ang epidermal cyst parang blackheads yan. It always starts with a blackhead like this one. So if you don't see that blackhead there, it's a plug. That's not a cancer. It's not an epidermal cyst. When the patients tell you that the mass suddenly enlarged and is now painful, it must be because many times they try to press the content out, and then in that process of the pressure, some bacteria will enter. At very typical yun, yung mga patients, I don't know if you have seen your parents do that or your uncles. You know? So when they press it and then usually something white comes out and then usually they smell it like that. So that's a typical epidermal cyst. You know? So the treatment for epidermal cyst is excision. Let me guide you through the surgery. And so you always do an elliptical incision. That punctum, you call that the punctum, so where the blackhead is, should always be included in the incision. And then you dissect from the sides, like you see here, and then you remove it. The capsule should be intact. Ito yung mga binibigay namin sa inyo when you become 40 years later, or even when you're PGIs. Ito yung mga first surgeries na ipinapahandle sa clerks and PGIs. First, you have to make an ellipse, always an ellipse, to include that punctum, and then you just dissect around the capsule. Para ka lang nag-dissect ng bola sa skin. So, and then you close it this way. You have many techniques of closure, but almost always I consider the outcome of the wound. So I almost never do an outside suture. So it's always a suture from the dermis. Let me teach you this one. So when you're starting your practice, so parang tatay nyo na ako ngayon, let me teach you this way. Pag-start kayo ng practice, everybody will start a practice somewhere. You will always be compared to other doctors. And then that is when you make a reputation that you're okay or you're not okay. Right? So if the other doctors do the suturing, the old ordinary railroad suturing, and then they see your suture, wow, you do a nice suture. Dr. Falcon, for example, Dr. Falcon, ang ganda ng pagkakatahi mo. Sa iyo na kami pupunta next time. That's my point. So you have to make an impression with your patients and then with your fellow doctors so that they will refer it to you. All right, so the closure is up to you, but I always do that. Okay, this is a very big one that I did under local anesthesia. He has not much money. This is a classic epidermal cyst in the right buttock. Okay, so there is a technique so that you can remove masses this big without admitting these patients. Okay, so still it's an epidermal cyst. All right. Versus its most common counterpart, which is the lipoma. The lipoma, yan. Itong lipoma, obviously, is a fat tumor. Pag lipoma, fat tumor. So it's not a benign, it's not a malignant tumor, but it's just an enlarging single cell. This is the single largest abnormal cell in the body. The single largest normal cell in the body would be, Dr. Casabardo, and women should know this. What is the single largest normal cell in the body? Joanne?
The ova?
Of course.
Ovum?
Thank you. Very good. Very good. The ovum is the single largest. Classically, if you pinch the skin over the mass, you'll be able to pinch that skin. Kita ba? Yeah. You'll be able to pinch that skin over the mass because it's a mass beneath the skin. So the skin should be able to glide over the mass. So unlike an epidermal cyst where you have to incise an ellipse, this one you just have to incise horizontally or vertically, depende sa orientation. Okay, so let me guide you through one of the excisions. This is a deltoid lipoma, right? So the incision will be this way. Ito, madali din itong ibigay sa intern. When you become PGIs and interns, it's easy to give this to you because you see, you just make an incision, para kang nag-core out, para kang nagbalat ng itlog. Actually, basically, this is how you do it. So you just dissect it from the skin. Actually, sometimes you use your mitts, sometimes you use your finger, depende sa size, and then it will easily give way and then pop out. Okay, so this is a giant one. This is how I close my incisions. Always naka-secret. And this is a very large 110 mm lipoma. This is a very large one. So the lipoma, just like the epidermal cyst, should have the capsule intact. So you look at the bottom right. This is its capsule, and the capsule should be intact so that there will be no recurrence. If you leave behind any portion of that capsule, that will recur. All right. Okay, this is another lipoma, which is rare in children, but I got this one. So if this is your patient, Aaron Tan, if this is your patient, Aaron, what would be your considerations? What would be your differentials? Aaron, just say if you don't know or say if you know, para hindi sayang time natin. Otherwise, Dr. Rivera will answer the question.
I'm not sure, Doc.
I'm sorry, Dr. Tan,
I'm not sure, but
you're not sure. You're allowed to make a guess. Come on. So, I'll be teaching you, tuturuan ko kayo kung paano manghula ng diagnosis because it is very important that you make a diagnosis quickly. So you'll be in front of the patient in a few years, doctors. And o kaya meron kang niece or nephew, no? Na dinala sa iyo nung iyong kapatid. Aaron, ano kaya tingin mo rito? Yung anak ko may ganyan eh. Common yan. O kaya nabalitaan ng kapitbahay nyo, doctor, nag-medicine ka pala, di ba? O kaya anak ng katulong mo. So these are common scenarios, Aaron, ano? That you have to prepare yourself. No? So isipin mo, Aaron, anong mga structures na nandiyan sa singit? So lipoma would be not obvious because this is rare in children. Isip Aaron, dali. Anong structures makikita mo sa singit?
I'm trying to think, but I
Come on, give me your best guess. Just say it, Aaron. Do not think too much. Yeah, say it, Aaron.
femoral hernia.
A femoral hernia would be good. Good. Oh, kita mo, alam mo pala. So what's another one? Isa na lang. Anyone? Dr. Hurgado? Jimuel?
Doc, or pwede po bang orchitis po?
Orchitis will be here. Mismo yung scrotum, yung testicle niya ang malaki. So, it's a good guess but not good enough. So, at least alam mo na. Ganito nga pala, no? So let me teach you. No? Hindi porke mali kayo, hindi ka na natuto. Ang lesson ko sa iyo, Jemuel, at least pagka nakakita ka ng ganito, alam mo, sinabi ko kay Dr. Acuña dati, orchitis ito, mali yun. So you get my point. Even if your answer was wrong now, that still helps you learn. Okay? Orchitis should be here. How about you, Dr. Rivera? Ano meron sa singit? Tama si Aaron kanina, femoral hernia. Although femoral hernias are more common in women, sa babae 'yon mas madalas. Pero meron pa rin sa lalaki. Dalawa ba kayo? Okay, go, doktor. Andiyan ka na rin lang, Jenna. Swollen what? Precisely. Thank you so much. So a femoral hernia and inguinal lymphadenopathy, especially for lymphomas, yung mga cancer ng lymph node. Very good, Jenna. At saka very good, Jemuel. So yun ang mga common differentials dito. Okay. Kasi yun yung purpose ng aking lecture sa inyo. So I impart on you the quick diagnosis. Pag nakakita kayo nito, ito yun. At saka number 2 will be what will be your differentials. This will be settled by an ultrasound. So wag niyong basta o-operahan ito. This will be settled by an ultrasound. Ultrasound will show you if they are solid lymph nodes, if the mass is containing an intestine, that will be a femoral hernia, or ang lipoma, ang ultrasound finding dyan is an avascular tumor. Wala siyang blood flow. So that's a typical lipoma. Next. Okay. Neurofibromas. Neurofibromas are benign tumors of the nerve. you often find them in the subcutaneous area of the digits. Also, pagka meron kayo sa plantar area sa sole. So, ulitin ko lang. Masses sa palmar area, masses in the sole area, or masses in the skin, sa torso, subcutaneously will be neurofibromas. Eventually, it will grow out to invade the skin. I think I'll be showing it to you. No? Ang problema sa neurofibroma is that it's precancerous. Nagiging neurofibrosarcoma. That is why they have to be removed kasi they are precancerous. Magiging cancer yan. So typical location will be palm, sole, or yung mas obvious mamaya, yung von Recklinghausen, pakita ko sa inyo. So ang problema dyan, painless. Genetic. Pag tinanong, oo, mama ko meron yan. Usually sa women ito lumalabas. All right, this is what I'm telling you. These are neurofibromas also. They are usually inborn. Yung spots sa balat, yung mga freckles, no? Freckle-like lesions, when you're born with them, you have to examine them or observe them closely because they are premalignant. This is neurofibromatosis, multiple, especially involving the skin. You call those spots, ito, yung mga may balat, sa Tagalog ang tawag niya balat, or birthmarks. So when they are birthmarks, meaning you were born with them, you watch out because they are future sites of neurofibromas and they are precancerous. Okay. Madaling malaman kung neurofibroma, it's called the buttonhole sign. So lalabas ko yun sa exam ninyo. It's called the buttonhole sign. Bakit? Paano yun, Doc? When you press on this one, I'll get another screen. When you press, Erica, on the tumor, kunyari ito yun, So when you press on the tumor sinks dun sa skin. Ito yung tumor. When you press on it, the tumor will sink and then there is a hole there. You will feel the hole in your skin. That's why it's called the buttonhole sign. And then when you press on the sides of that buttonhole, the tumor will pop out again. So it's called the buttonhole sign. That's a classic sign of neurofibromatosis or von Recklinghausen syndrome. This is genetic and this is mostly in women, and this becomes cancer. So you have to remove the whole one. The large ones, I mean. Ayan. Ito yung nakikita nyo ba sa screen? Naka-block yung aking view. Ayan, this is how it would look like underneath. Ito, this one's a sole. Ayan. So parang gelatin. It's a gelatin-like lesion underneath the skin. Usually palm, sole, or dito sa torso. Okay, lipat ko yung mga mukha nyo ulit. Alright. These are multiple ones. He was born with these lesions and then slowly enlarging habang lumalaki. You will notice that, can you give me a differential nga pala dito, Erica? Erica?
Doc, pwede po ba yung parang keloids?
Very good, Erica. Keloids will be a very good differential dito, no? Kasi, however, there is no previous injury, Erica. So, very good ang keloids. How about you, Efrelin? You will notice, Efrelin, you give me a diagnosis wherein you see the lesions are in one line. They are in one dermatome.
I'm not sure po, Doc.
Tapos puro vesicles, parang tubig-tubig, may lagnat. Oh, yun, no? Sabi ni Erica, alam ko sagot. How about you, Dr. Miguel? How diyan? Take a guess, Miguel, come on. It follows a dermatome, meaning nakaguhit na ganun. It follows a nerve, basically.
Mukha po siyang boil.
Boil, wag niyo nang gamitin yung boil kasi pang layman yan. Oliver? Oliver, nagbabasa ng ibang subject. Nakikita ko naman kayo sa screen. So I'm sorry, Oliver, I have to give you a bad grade. Sorry. Makakabawi ka pa naman mamaya. Liana? Hindi ka kasi listening You're reading something else, Oliver. Kaya you'll be getting a bad grade from... So ganyan ako sa... I'll be frank. Pagka tama kayo, tatama ko kayo. Pero you know what, Oliver? Kasi may inis ka lang sa akin. Just log out and then read whatever you're reading. Rather than wasting my time. Okay?
Doc, sorry po. I'm searching for answers po.
Really?
Po. But wala po.
Wala kang makita. Herpes zoster would be a good answer for this one. So if it follows a dermatome, meaning isang nerve sinusundan na gano'n. So herpes zoster, kaya lang herpes zoster ay vesicles. Hindi siya solid na ganyan. Alright? So sige, pagbigyan muna kita, Oliver. Alright, how about, so yan, tinatanggal yung buo. This is how you do it. Alright, this is another one, tendon cyst. With the advent of gaming, yung mga gamers na nakaganyan lagi. Also, pagka lagi kayong nagtatype sa computer, yung mga call center agents, there is this mass, the tendon cyst. The old name for tendon cyst is a ganglion cyst. A ganglion cyst. Yeah, yan ang most common location niya, where the crease is. So usually when you operate on it, this is how it would look like. It's a cyst. Pag sinabing cyst, Liana, anong naaalala mo when you say a cyst? Ovarian cyst, breast cyst, renal cyst, hepatic cyst, thyroid cyst. What does a cyst mean to you, Liana, Dr. Tolentino?
Doc, cyst is yung packet of fluid po.
Sige, Dr. De La Cruz, i-search muna sa Google kung anong definition ng cyst and then tell it to us. Sige, Liana, Caitlin. Wow, Caitlin. Caitlin Jenner. Okay, sige. Ulitin mo, medyo tama ka, Liana. Ulitin mo. Could you do that for us again?
Doc, abnormal packet of fluid po siya.
Abnormal pocket fluid. So medyo malapit na. How about Dr. De La Cruz? Na-search mo na sa Google?
Doc, ako po ba? Tatlo po kasi kaming De La Cruz, Doc.
Sige, kahit sinong De La Cruz. Itong isa yung nakasalamin. Si Doktora kasi nabablock yung name. Ven?
Doc, yung nabasa din po ni Miss Liana po, abnormal fluid sacs that can develop in tissues in any part of the body.
Yes. So, in short, ganito ang definition niyan sa medicine, pagka medical dictionary. It's a fluid-filled encapsulated structure. Okay, yun ang totoong definition ng cyst. So, kahit saan ng parte ng katawan nyo ilagay yung cyst, they are all benign. Okay? Cysts are benign. Except in the pancreas. Pagka nakakita kayo ng cysts sa pancreas, madami doon malignant. But elsewhere in the body, majority, of course, not all, walang all sa medicine, majority will be benign. Okay. So this is the excision, tingin kayo sa screen. You make an incision over the mass and then you dissect the mass and then it will have a neck. So parang golf ball tapos may T sa ilalim and then you ligate there sa T niya. So, all right. Okay, this one will be keloids. I'd like to differentiate keloids from hypertrophic scars from normal scars. Balikan natin yan. Uy, saan yan? Sorry. Okay. Yung lahat naman kayo nagkaroon na ng sugat. So yung mga sugat ninyo and then they are flat. You call them normal scars. All incisions, all wounds after birth will cause scarring. Kasi ang collagen na predominant one day after birth is collagen type 1. And collagen type 1 produces collagen fibers that are in ori, iba-iba ng direksyon. Unlike in utero, up to the first 24 hours of life, the predominant collagen is collagen type 3. Hanggang 7 types yan. Lumalabas yan sa board exam. Collagen type 3. Ang maganda sa collagen type 3, the resultant scar is still linear. Kaya you will hardly see a scar. Yung pamangkin ko, anak nung aking bayaw, she was diagnosed with duodenal atresia in utero. So immediately after cesarean section, she had an explore lap at dinugtong yung duodenum niya. She's now a first year medical student sa Harvard University. At you will hardly see a scar sa kanyang tiyan. So there's almost no scar kahit na ang haba ng kanyang, because she was operated in the first 24 hours. After 24 hours, ayun, depende sa lahi mo na. The circle formed by the deltoid, sternum, and nape, yung circle ng batok, deltoid, and chest, it's called the keloid circle. When you have wounds in those areas, pimples dito, epidermal cysts, excisions, in the sternum, deltoid, and nape o batok areas, they are keloid prone. Kaya you remind patients pagka yan, ito vaccination lang ito. Vaccination lang yan. And then grew up. Also when you have genes ng mga, if you have Spanish blood, yung mga Kastila ang mga lolo't lola, yung mga sobrang matatangos ang ilong, they are really keloid prone. And the other race is yung black. Pagka very dark yung skin mo, usually you are keloid formers. Grabe ang keloid niya. Do not operate on keloids, because when you operate on keloids, the resultant keloid is much bigger than how it started. Kaya bawal operahin ang keloids. So ang treatment sa keloids, ang best treatment for keloids is pressure. Kaya pag may keloid sa face o dyan, lagi kayong may armband o kaya a elastic bandage. So pressure is the best. Mapapansin mo yun, yung mga keloid formers, na pansinin niyo mga nanay niyo, tita niyo, na merong cesarean section na gano'n. Yung nakatapat sa belt, halos walang scar. Pero yung beyond the belt line, merong scar. So, pressure is your best friend pagka keloids, pagka keloid former. Also, they look at the keloid sa electron microscope, and then ang problema pala ng keloids is excessive calcium influx. Ang bilis pumasok ng calcium. So yung mga nagka-calcium supplement, they can be keloid prone, number one. Also, ulitin natin, tapos si Erica. Dr. Efrelyn Reginding. Oh, Efrelyn, can I see your face?
Yes po, Doc.
Oo, yan. Pag ang problema ay excessive calcium influx, can you give me a possible treatment? Dapat ganyan malikot ang isip ko pagka doktor. Surrender ka? Excessive calcium influx. Sige, tawag tayo ng iba. Hindi pa alam ni Efrelyn ang sagot. Justin, tulungan mo naman si Efrelyn.
Doc, yung mga mga drugs po na for calcium blockers po.
Yun. Calcium channel blockers. Exactly, it's been found that when you're taking calcium channel blockers, bigyan mo ako ng sample, Justin. Very good, very good. Anybody? Jesse? Bardelosa? Can you give me a calcium channel blocker? May pharma na kayo, di ba?
Yes, Doc.
Oh, go, go.
Calcium channel blocker. Doc, ito po ba yung pharma ko? Ito po ba yung mga olol?
Hindi.
Ay, hindi pala.
Amlodipine po.
Amlodipine and the parent drug is nifedipine. So yun yung parent drug. Yun yung start. So yun yung, noong time kami na second year, that's original drug, nifedipine. In fact, you can use the amlodipine, you put it in a gel and then put it as a cream. Kunyari, isama mo siya sa petroleum jelly or in any Jergens lotion, put that tablet pulverize it, and then you can apply it for your keloids. It works really. Okay. Also, you apply pressure. So do not do surgery on keloids. Yun ang take-home message today. The more that you touch it, it will grow much bigger. All right, let's go to skin infections now. So pumikit kayo sandali, alalahanin niyo yung keloids, yung pinag-usapan natin sa keloids, epidermal cyst, lipoma, and neurofibroma. If you can see the picture in your brain, that's good enough. No? Try nyo dito ang technique na to. Pagka nagre-review kayo ng anything, after a page, you stop. Instead of going through the next page, you pause for a while and put in your brain what did you learn or what do you recall about the previous page. So it really helps. Diyon ko ituturo sa inyo yung learning, yung reading at saka studying. No? Yung reading, kunyari, you don't go back pagka reading. Basa ng first week, kunyari, binabasa mo yung Harry Potter or whatever. Dire-diretso lang yung basa. Hindi ka na, teka, ano nga ba yung ginawa ni Harry? You get my point. So, dire-diretso lang nabasa yon. That's reading. And you cannot recall much of it. However, for medicine, kailangan studying yun. Yung studying, kailangan doon may instant recall. Pagka hindi mo ginawa itong importanteng step na to, yun ang sekreto ng mga matataas ang grade. Tsaka yung mga ordinaryong gaya natin na kasi hindi ko to alam nung araw. So, kailangan pala ipipikit ka ng konti o tumingin sa taas and then isipin mo sa brain mo, kailangan meron na iwan sa brain. Pagka walang naiwan sa brain and you just go on the next page, hindi mo yun mareretain. Get my point? Kaya mas matagal ang long-term memory nung mabagal magbasa kasi bumabalik siya. Okay, so ganito ang gagawin ko sa inyo. After a few slides, we will recall. Alright? So dapat na, do you have it in your brain, Angela? Naalala mo yung epidermal cyst, lipoma?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay, good. Neurofibroma, naalala mo, Doc Jessil? Naalala mo?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay, let's go to skin infections now. Ang common dyan abscess at saka cellulitis. Ayokong gamitin sa Tagalog yung pigsa kasi pareho yan, pigsa. Let's go to sa English. An abscess is an accumulation of purulent material underneath the skin. So pag kinapa mo yan, ang description diyan ang description diyan ay fluctuant mass. Yung bukol parang may lamang tubig. Pagka pinalpate mo yung bukol, parang may lamang tubig siya sa loob. Ang medical term for that is fluctuance. Okay? Pagka naman may parang tumatalbog, kunyari pinipii mo, may ascites, tapos meron siyang abdominal mass, tapos may parang tumatalbog sa loob, ang tawag doon ballotable. So, pero pagka parang walang lamang, parang tubig lang ang laman, you call that fluctuant. Alright? So an abscess is an accumulation of pus underneath the skin. Cellulitis naman is walang accumulation. Mismo yung dermis, cellulite is the old medical term for dermis. Kaya nga pag sinabi yung mga matataba, dami niyang cellulite. So meaning yung taba, yung dermis niya makapal. So bukol-bukol. Alright, so cellulitis is an inflammation, an infection of the skin. An abscess is accumulation underneath the skin. So, cellulitis is medical. Hindi yan binibiyak. Kasi pag biniyak mo yan, walang lalabas na nana. Dugo lang. The treatment for cellulitis is medical only. Ang cellulitis parang lechon. Okay? Medical only. Bawal yan biyakin. An abscess naman, kailangan biyakin. Okay? Hindi pwedeng medical ang abscess. So, the treatment for, also yung letter A tsaka letter E, tingnan nyo yung A sa simula abscess. Staphylococcal yan. Most of the time, staphylococcal yan. Cellulitis, E, streptococcal yan. Okay? So, yun yung i-differentiate ko sa inyo. So, the one on your left is surgical, the one on your right is medical. Okay. Ang cellulitis is due to streptococcus. Listen carefully. Ang Sandra, ang streptococcus, yan ang pinakabobo na isa yan sa pinakabobo na bacteria. It has not evolved, of the 7 groups ng antibiotics, all of them will work against streptococci. Kaya pagka ang tinitingnan mo is strep, kahit anong maisip mo antibiotic, pwede lahat sa kanya. Alright? For an abscess, Staphylococcus, hindi ganon. Staphylococcus yan ang pinakamatalino naman na bacteria. It has learned to evolve and evade many of our antibiotics. Kaya penicillin resistant, kaya makakakita kayo ng mga vancomycin resistant. Pagka penicillin resistant, treatment is vancomycin. Tapos nagkaroon na rin ng vancomycin resistant Staph aureus, VRSA. The treatment is linezolid. During the pandemic, I had one patient who had LRSA, linezolid resistant Staphylococcus aureus. At makinig kayo, pakinggan niyo kung saan siya sensitive. Sensitive siya sa erythromycin at saka chloramphenicol. It became so advanced, it forgot about the old antibiotics already. Kaya gumaling yon na ang binibigay ko lang chloramphenicol. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, chloramphenicol was discontinued. So, wala na halos mabiling chloramphenicol ngayon. Sa mga generics na lang. So malinaw. So I spent time dito kasi this is a major part of your exam. This will be a major part of your practice also. So basically, yun yung tinanong ko, yun yung sa exam. May question para sa chat. Sorry. Zoster, ang galing ni Benedict kanina. Sorry, hindi ko nabasa Benedict yung sagot mo. Tama pala si Benedict kanina, Zoster. Kung staph origin po yung abscess, can I give antibiotic po for patient? Okay, sige. So tanong ni Aljon. Sagutin natin Aljon. Kung i-antibiotic ang abscess o hindi. Bigyan ko kayo ng scenario. Clinically, ang definition ng medicine, makinig kayo mabuti. Ang definition ng medicine is the science and art of healing. Okay? Makinig kayo mabuti doon sa definition ng medicine. The science and art of healing. Hindi pwedeng puro libro yung ibabato mo sa pasyente. Kailangan may charisma ka. Kailangan you learn to relate doon sa patient. Kaya nga, sometimes I get patients, alam mo, doktor, makausap ka lang namin, magaling na kami. Kasi may art ng pagkapagaling. So that's one thing that you have to develop yourselves. Kung gusto nyong gumaling, there is a way of explaining diseases and treatment to patients. Pag naipaliwanag mo sa kanilang mabuti, gagaling yon. Versus somebody like this. Abscess yan, Staphylococcus. Sige, ipa-culture natin, pagkatapos bigyan kita ng antibiotic. May naintindihan ba yung pasyente doon, di ba? Kaya sometimes kahit doctors ano yung eco-culture, di ba? You get my point. So, you should take it slow at subukan nyo ito. Tanga-tanga naman ng pasyente ko. Ang dami ko nang sinabi, wala man lang na-retain. Put yourself in the place of that patient. Pag sinamahan mo ang nanay mo sa, kukuha ko na ibang batch na titingnan mo ka. Justin, kunyari sinamahan mo Justin ang nanay mo sa cardiologist, tapos ang dami siyang binili na gamot. Ang mga cardio ngayon kung magreseta 10 gamot napakadami nilang gamot, maaalala mo ba lahat 'yun? Yung mga habilin, maaalala mo ba lahat 'yun? So put yourself ako kasi pinapadala ko dati sa sa follow up ang nanay ko, tatay ko, kasi siyempre matatanda na sila, until they died, pati yung lola ko. So, nararamdaman ko na hindi ko ma-memorize yun. Kaya do not expect so much of your patient. Sinusulat ko lahat ng orders. Also, kagabi, kausap yung daughter ko. We write our prescriptions. I have 3 doctors already. So, my eldest is there in surgery, si Jap, si Dr. Francis. My daughter is finishing her subspecialty, pediatric infectious disease. She'll be done this March. And my youngest is a first-year surgical resident in UST. So, tinuturo ko sa kanila, ini-impart ko sa kanila, yung sulat ninyo, make it very legible. So, pag instruction kasi yun pagka hindi malinaw ang instruction, hindi gagaling yung pasyente. More so, pagka merong maling reseta. Pakinggan mo to, Aljon. Merong isang doktor na demanda dyan sa Fairview Gen. Maybe 10 years ago when I was there pa. Yung binigyan niya ng gamot sa ubo, nagtae. So, Tapos na-dehydrate, naswero, nagtagal sa ospital. Kasi Aljon, ang sinulat ng doktor ay supposed to be Sinecod para sa ubo. Ang nabili sa mercury, Senocot, pampatae. So, because of that, mali yung nabasa sa mercury. Paano? Ako man yung bumasa ng prescription, talagang buti nga ako na nag-grasp nyo pa na sine yung umpisa kasi hindi ko talaga maintindihan. So, nagkakaroon ng problem. So, dapat you write legibly as you can. Try to explain as best as you can, as slow as you can. So, para naintindihan nila. And that way, you will gain the respect of that patient, pati relatives. Babalikan ka na. Versus somebody who does not know how to explain, Alec. So pagka hindi ka marunong, Alec, I want to see your face. Alec, pagka hindi ka marunong mag-explain, yes, babayaran ko ng, opo, doc, pero hindi na yung babalik sa'yo. Gusto ba, Alec, na gano'n? Na isang beses lang, tapos hindi ka na babalikan? Siyempre, gusto nyo, babalikan kayo. So you present yourself as knowledgeable, meaning magbasa. Number 2, explain well to your patients. And then number 3, you give them good results. In that way, Dominic, magkakaroon ka ng rapport sa patient. Pagkatapos babalikan ka nila. Doon ako sa doktor na yun, naiintindihan ko yung sinasabi niya. Also, if you cannot understand a disease, yes. If you cannot understand a disease, how can you impart the treatment or the diagnosis doon sa patient? Ikaw nga, di mo naiintindihan. Kaya maraming ganon. So, mag-aral kayo mabuti at iwanan ko na tong page na to, pero I have one more advice for you. Sa dami ng doktor ngayon, Margaret, sa dami ng doktor, dami ng doktor na nagki-clinic, sa dami ng clinic, sa dami ng ospital, sa dami ng bagong graduate, bakit siya babalik sa clinic mo, Margaret?
Doc, may trust po.
May trust, kasi gumaling siya sa'yo, naintindihan niya yung sakit. At kung operasyon, yung trust na yan, it takes a little time to develop. Pareho ng pag-yosyota yan o kaya pag-aasawa. So it takes a little time to develop and make sure your patients get that in you. Okay? That's how you become good doctors eventually. Okay? So hindi man kayo makatuto dito sa aking sinabi. At least maalala nyo yung sinabi ko, how to make your practice. All right. Let's go to cancers now of the skin. I'll give you the complete set of slides. I will not get from anywhere just these slides. Okay? Pagka meron kayo nakita na wala sa slide, bonus yun. Alright. Okay, let's go to non-melanoma skin cancers. Tatlo ang major skin cancers. From least severe to most severe. Basal cell / BCC. Kakapanood ng Pornhub, BBC. BCC, I'm sorry. Puta yung mga lalaki, tawanan. BCC, ayun. Basal cell carcinoma, it's the least toxic of all the skin cancers. Di-differentiate sa inyo yan. Squamous cell carcinoma is in the middle, and the most toxic or worst of all is melanoma. So you divide them into non-melanoma, which is BCC and SCC versus melanoma. Okay. BCC, titigan nyo mabuti yung screen. Titigan nyo mabuti yung screen, yung picture sa left. How do you describe a basal cell carcinoma? It has shiny or pearl-like elevated edges. Titigan nyo. With a necrotic center. So, minsan napakaliit yan, minsan napakalaki, basta always elevated edges, pearly, parang merong nagbabalat ba? Parang nagbabalat yung skin. Pearly, in a description sa book. Pearly or desquamating edges, and then a necrotic center. Parang yung stuffed crust pizza. So, nakaangat yung gilid, necrotic center. That's always how it looks like. Make the pizza big, make the pizza small. That's basal cell carcinoma. Ang maganda sa basal cell carcinoma, ang treatment niyan, excision lang. Walang chemo yan, walang radiation. Tandaan niyo. Of course, that will be a question in your exam. It grows in the sun-exposed areas of the body. They are seldom in the, very rare yan sa torso. Usually sa face yan, saka sa arms. Or sa scalp. I have an Australian surfer who's now 70 years old. And I have excised maybe 10 na yung na-excise ko sa kanya na basal cells sa scalp, sa mukha. He used to be a surfer in Australia and is now retired in the Philippines. Okay, let's go to the second most toxic. A more toxic cancer of the skin is squamous cell carcinoma. Ang squamous cell carcinoma, tingnan mo. Hanggang doon sa dulo ng lesion, necrotic siya. It's flat, walang elevated edges, and it starts as a non-healing wound. Okay. Ang squamous cell carcinoma, pumupunta sa kulani. Unlike basal cell, it doesn't go to the lymph nodes. So, ang treatment ng squamous cell, wide excision din, and then you go to the lymph nodes by lymph node dissection. Kunyari, sa mukha, tatanggalin mo yung lymph node sa neck. Kung sa dila, lymph node sa neck. Kung ang cancer niya dyan, sa braso, lymph node sa kilikili. So, kung ang tumubo yung squamous cell sa hita, tatanggalin mo yung lymph node sa singit. So, it will be an inguinal node dissection, axillary node dissection, or neck node dissection. Okay. Squamous cell carcinomas are treated by surgery and may be followed by radiation and or chemotherapy. Hindi yun sure. So maybe. Kung may kalat sa kulani, edi magre-radiation yan. Okay, this is squamous, this is melanoma. This is the most common. Nagsimula ito si Lola, she is about 80 plus years old. She said, many years ago, na-murder daw yung kamay niya, tapos nagkaroon ng dugo sa ilalim ng nail. So, yun ang most common presentation ng melanoma, a subungual melanoma. Tapos eventually lumalaki na, tapos na-deform na yung nail. So, I did a biopsy on this one, and it was really melanoma. And this is the patient immediately after the surgery. Pinutol ko yung daliri niya. And true enough, it's melanoma. Fortunately for her, there is no spread. So, but melanoma gets chemotherapy, melanoma gets radiotherapy. So, ang treatment nito ay hindi excision, amputation. Kung ang melanoma sa kamay tumama, usually amputate niya yung kamay. Kung tumama siya sa paa, amputate yung paa. Because it's usually parang may ugat yan na malalim. So, hindi siya pwede ng excision gaya ng PCC. Kaya usually amputations yan. One of my patients, Lola ng isang OB natin dyan sa FEU, she had a melanoma of the anal area. So, yun. So, I removed the anus, had a permanent colostomy for her. She had chemotherapy, she had radiation. Nawala na siya ng pandemic. I don't know if she's still alive. Let me show you the cut finger. There. Amputated finger. Okay. Hindi siya ng excision, kailangan madalas amputation. Alright. Now, melanomas start as moles. Mga mole yan na nag-progress. Kaya, so a colored lesion, so a non-black lesion would be SCC or BCC. A black lesion would be a melanoma. Melanoma, matapang yan. So when do you biopsy a mole? I don't know if I have. Okay. Ano to? Alphabetical ito. A, B, C, D, E. Pakita ko na. Asymmetrical border. The left side does not look like the right side. B, borders are irregular or occasionally with bleeding. Ito, tingnan nyo to. Yan, may bleeding. C, color variegation, meaning in one mole, dapat isa lang ang kulay niyan. Kung black, black. Kung brown, brown. Look, here merong red, merong white, may gray, may black. So, if you have more than one color, it's called color variation. Yung mga nagplantita nung, di ba, yung mga variegated leaves. So, iba-ibang kulay ng dahon, hindi berde. Dapat i-biopsy yan. D, diameter more than 6 mm. In the old books, nung textbook namin, nung second year kami, pagka doon ang diameter niya more than the head of the pencil eraser. Yun ang nakalagay sa textbook namin nung araw. Kaya lang ngayon kasi may mga pencil na ganyan kalaki yung eraser kaya tinanggal na yun. Nilagyan na lang ng measurement. So 6 mm. Last one is elevation. If you see any one of the following in a mole, it should be biopsy. Yung form ng biopsy depends. For example, if the mole is more than 3 cm, pareho sa breast cancer. Pagka more than 3 cm, incision biopsy. Kumuha ka lang ng kapiraso. Pagka less than 3 cm, tanggalin mo na lang yung buo. Excision biopsy. That will be part of your exam. So, I will be describing a mole which has blank. The next step for this mole will be blank. Biopsy, observation, chemotherapy, surgery. You get my point. So, that's how I always make my... So, ang exam ninyo, I'll be giving you either, I'll give you a bunch of symptoms. I ask you for a diagnosis, not the treatment. Kasi ang objective natin sa lecture ay diagnosis. Okay? I'll give you a bunch of symptoms and then you give me the diagnosis, or I give you, tell me which one is a symptom. So that's how the exam, your exam is constructed. Okay? Basta pansinin ninyo, yung tinatagalan ko, may exam yun. All right, skull masses. Osteoma. Osteomas are elevation of the subperiosteal bone. Kunyari, nauntog ka nung araw, lagi kang iniuntog ng tatay mo sa pader, kasi mahina ka, bobo. So those parts will become thickened subperiosteally and become osteomas. Osteomas are benign. Of course, you do not touch them except for osteomas in the forehead, which disturbs many patients, and then sometimes they demand excision. Pagka meron akong patient na osteoma sa forehead, ang hiwa nun, wag dito. Ang hiwa nun sa hairline para wala siyang kita rito. So, I can do that very nice. Wala kang makikita sa mukha mo. Okay. Versus metastasis. There are 1, 2, 3. Actually, sorry for the typo. There are 3 cancers which, apating ko na kaya. Type ko na ngayon, sorry. Ba't ba kulang ito? Sorry. Okay, there are 4 cancers which are known for bone metastasis. Sorry. Save ko lang. There are 4 cancers which are very notorious for bone metastasis. Madali naman yun malaman. Depende sa location kung nasaan. Pag thyroid cancer, usually sa skull yan. Nobody knows why. Pag lung cancer, usually sa long bones. Dito sa femur, basta long bones. Long. Long bones. Femur, tibia, ito sa humerus. Breast cancer is notorious for vertebral mets. Breast, vertebra. So that's how I describe it. Prostate naman, P pelvis. So ako kasi mahina ako mag-memorize, so I need those mnemonics para ma-memorize yung mga bagay na ganyan. So hindi mnemonic nga pala yun. May mga ibang professor kasi, okay, your mnemonic, yung mnemonic kasi ganito yun. Yan, mnemonic yun. Pero pagka mnemonic, ito yung ating dinidescribe. Okay? Thyroid cancer, thyroid cancer, usually skull mets. Lung cancer, long bones. Breast cancer, vertebra, breast. The most common vertebra involved in breast cancer is T8. Why? Because ito madalas ito sa board exam. Because of the Batson's plexus. The Batson's plexus is a direct venous connection from the breast via the intercostals going to the vertebra. So, at ang breast katapat, pagka merong pain ang babae, kunyari may breast cancer, tapos may pain yung babae where the strap of the bra is, yung strap na yon ay usually T8 yon. So usually that's breast cancer metastasis. Okay, so those are very simple things that I've learned during my clinical practice. Prostatic cancer, syempre, lalaki yan kailangan. Okay, follow me ganito. Pagka merong bone mets or bone cancer, always involve hormone treatment. Hindi ito lalabas sa exam niyo, pero alam nyo ngayon, pag buto, meron yang radiation, tsaka may kasama yung hormone treatment. Pag sa buto kumalat, sigurado may radiation, sigurado yan, may hormonal treatment. Okay? Okay, let me give you an example. Skin glides over the mass, so alam mo, hindi skin tumor ito. Pwedeng lipoma, no? Lipomas in the forehead are common. No? There is no subcutaneous tissue in the forehead. However, you can see lipomas in the forehead. No? So, nadinig nyo na yung hamartoma? Nadinig mo na ba, Yesa? Nadinig mo na yung hamartoma? Hindi pa. Sabi mo na. Kung
Hamartoma, Doc?
Yes. Nadinig mo na siya?
Yes po, Doc.
Yes. Ano. So, hamartomas are tissues that are found in locations where they are not usually found there. For example, gastric or pancreatic tissue sa Meckel's diverticulum. Yeah, so that's one of them. So, lipomas in the forehead. Ano? Wala kasing taba sa forehead. Ano? Also, lipomas in the knee, over the patella. There is no subcutaneous tissue over the patella. Because of the absence of subcutaneous tissue in the forehead, in the back of the hand, and in front of the patella, those three areas are where you feel temperature changes more easily. So kung may lagnat yung pasyente, you don't do it this way. Hindi ka naman ganun mag-examine, ganun. Hindi. You use the back of your hand. You use the back of your hand dito. Okay? It's awkward if you put the back of your hand dito sa may patella. But that will work. But mas maganda dito sa forehead na lang. Ganun. Okay, so that's how you do it. And that's the reason why you do that. Okay. It's benign usually. You know? So you may or may not remove the osteoma. However, this patient, during, sabi ko, gusto niyang ipatanggal eh. He has no other symptoms. So, nung tinatanggal ko siya, ito na, lumalabas na yung mass here on your left. And then when I was able to remove the mass, there is an erosion of the outer table of the skull. Nag-erosion. Aba, sabi ko, butas Tapos ginasanasaction ko, akala ko brain na yon. Hindi pala, inner table pa pala yon doon. So, inner table pa siya doon. So, buo pa yung inner table. Histopath showed thyroid cancer. Follicular thyroid cancer. So, follicular thyroid cancer goes to your skull. Ang mets niya sa skull. Wala siyang bukol sa leeg. Nung tinhyroidectomy ko siya, the tumor was 0.3 centimeter follicular thyroid cancer. 0.3. Napakaliit. Sa ultrasound lang siya nakita. Hindi siya kapa. Kaya na-diagnose ko yung thyroid cancer niya after removing these mets. Okay. So let's go to the neck. Sa neck, location, location, location. Pagka nasa gitna o nasa gilid, alam mo na kung ano yun. So pag nasa gitna, midline, dalawa lang yun. If it's high up here at bata yung pasyente mo, thyroglossal duct cyst. I will show you some pictures later para mabilis na lang ito. Okay, if it's in the exact midline at nandito sa taas, over your hyoid, it's a thyroglossal duct cyst. Occasionally, it goes down here in the sternum, but that's rare. Okay, basta midline. Kung nandito naman sa midline, sa ilalim, goiter yun. Goiter is any enlargement of the thyroid gland. Okay, any enlargement of the thyroid gland. Okay, now let's go to the lateral, dito sa gilid. I-memorize nyo muna, branchial cleft cysts are branchial. Branchial ang spelling, branchial. Ang branchial cleft, those are the aortic clefts during development. Nandito yan sa leeg. Very rare yan, pero marami na akong na-operang ganyan. Pagka yung bukol na nandito sa skin, over this muscle, SCM, branchial cleft yan. Nasa ibabaw ng muscle, pero nasa skin. Pag nandun sa likod ng muscle, kulani yun. Okay? Pagka naman posterior, this is the SCM. Sternocleidomastoid. Sternocleidomastoid. So if it's behind this muscle, this one, this area, So pwedeng kulani iyon o kaya it's a lymphatic tumor, lymphangioma. So sa neck, by the location alone, you're able to make a diagnosis. Just if I tell you in the midline, you know. So yung nasa midline, thyroglossal, also you will remember that thyroid nung first year, naalala nyo ba yun, yung thyroid nung Alec nung first year? Diba sabi, ang anlage ng thyroid, nasaan? Alec?
Sorry, ano po yun, Doc?
Nasa? Nasaan yung anlage? Yung pinagmulan, where did the thyroid originate? At the base of the Aljon? Tongue. No? Kaya nga, thyroid, glossal, dila. During our embryonic development, the tongue starts to develop in the first month, ano? Sa base ng tongue, nahandon merong nodule doon, ano? Tapos bumababa yun dito. It descends to where the thyroid is now. So during that descent, sometimes na-arrest yung descent dito, tumigil dito. Huwag kayong exercise ng thyroglossal duct cyst because sometimes it's the only thyroid tissue that the patient has. So tingnan muna nyo kung merong iba. Kung walang iba, do not operate. Okay, goiter naman dito. Both of these, thyroglossal duct cyst and goiter, will move upon deglutition. Pag lumulunok kayo, o kaya you put out your tongue, tumataas yung bukol. Because initially, it was connected to the tongue. Malinaw? All the others that you see below, they will not move with deglutition. Yan. Very good yan, Dominic. No? So, pagka tumaas siya, pag pinalunok mo yung pasyente, lunok po kayo. Pag lumunok at tumaas, I'll be showing you examples. Videos actually. Pag tumaas siyang gano'n, thyroglossal. Pagka nandito sa baba, goiter yun. Pag nandito sa taas, thyroglossal. So, yun. Simple. So, this makes your diagnosis really simple. Ano? Location pa lang, alam ko na yan. Nasa ilalim ng nasa ibabaw ng muscle, sa balat, branchial cleft yan. Nasa likod ng muscle, it will be lymph nodes. Nasa likod, posterior to the muscle, it will be lymph nodes or lymphangioma. So I'll show you definite examples para mas mabilis. Ito, ginawa namin ito nung anak ko nung pandemic. This is my youngest son. He will be married in 2 months. He's now a first-year resident in surgery. So, sa UST. Pagka dito yan sa exact midline, goiter yan. So, pagka dito sa taas, thyroglossal duct cyst, bibigyan mo ito sa inyo, mabilis to. Goiter pag nasa ilalim. Both of them will be elevating yung pag-swallow. O kaya pag put out ng tongue. Branchial cleft there. Branchial cleft cyst dito. It has 3 types kasi kaya type 1, type 2, type 3. Ayan yun, hindi ko bibigay sa inyo yun. Just the branchial cleft. Masyadong complex yun for you. Okay. Also, lymph nodes. Please remember lymph nodes. Kaya ko laging kahit na second year pa lang kayo, hindi pa naman kayo mag-lymph node dissection, I want you to memorize the 6 levels of lymph nodes. I'll be showing the level 1 will be submandibular, and then 2, 3, and 4 will be internal jugular or behind the SCM. Level 2, 3, and 4 will be the upper jugular, mid jugular, and inferior jugular. And 5 will be posterior to the SCM, and 6 is anterior or central to the SCM. Okay, one by one. Balikan natin. Okay. Level 1 lymph nodes drain the face. Pag may kulani kayo rito sa submandibular, maghahanap ka ng lesion, pwedeng infection, pwedeng cancer sa anterior, sa face. At saka anterior 2/3 ng mouth. Gets? May sirang ngipin, may nakagat ang dila, may pimples, may whatever. Any infection sa face, any tumor or cancer sa face, basal cell carcinoma sa face, may face, so lahat sila submandibular. Level 2 drains the pharynx or the posterior 2/3 ng mouth. at saka tonsil. Actually, pagka nag-tonsillitis kayo, dyan yun, level 2. Under the SCM here. Level 3 and level 4 are classic for thyroid cancer, most especially level 3. Okay. Level 4, on the left side, what do you call that duct, doctors? Kukuha ko na ibang doktor. Tawag ko na ba si Justin? Gavin, di pa kita natawag. Gavin, ikaw naman. Doon sa left side, dito sa neck, sa lower neck, there is a which drains the here, joining the internal jugular. What do you call that?
Dok, naglag ka po, Dok.
Ulit.
Naglag ka po, Dok.
Naglag. Sige. Sa lahat ng lymphatics sa abdomen, pupunta lahat yun sa cisterna chyli, tapos cisterna jugular, pabalik sa heart. What do you call that duct sa left side? Starts with the letter T. Benedict? Benedict? Benedict?
Doc, forgot
Can you
pa po.
understand me, Benedict?
Yes po.
Oh, sige, go, answer.
Thoracic duct po.
Thoracic duct, very good. You know? Because of the origin of the thoracic duct, it brings lymphatic fluid from the abdomen, you know? And to join the lymph nodes in level 4. You know? So pagka merong sa kaliwa lang, you know? Lalo na payat yung pasyente, it's pancreatic or more commonly gastric cancer. Pagka may mga kulani dito sa level 4, sa lower jugular, tapos sa kaliwa lang, you think about the gastric cancer, you call that letter V. Pauline, ano tawag doon sa lymph node na yan? VI. Pauline? VIR. C. Joanne? Ang tawag doon sa lymph node dito? Jessa? Jessie? Jessie Gale?
Virtuous node, Doc.
Virtuous node. Very good. You know? Virtuous node denotes stage 4 gastric cancer. Occasionally, it does pancreatic cancer also. So, yun, kasali sa inyong exam yun. Ano? So, yung pala, sa lahat, except for virtuous node, ano? Lahat sila galing sa leeg, galing sa ulo. Okay? So, galing sa ulo. Yung lymph nodes ang pinag-uusapan natin. Except for virtuous node. Level 5 lymph nodes are found posterior to the sternocleidomastoid. Ang dinedrain niyan ay scalp at saka retropharynx. Nasopharynx. I'm sorry. Nasopharynx at saka scalp. Kaya pagka may kulani dito, pagka meron kayo nakita smoker, malakas manigarilyo, tapos ang dami niyang kulani dito sa may batok. Almost between the SCM and the trapezius here. So, tingnan mo yung pa-endoscopy mo yung ngala-ngala niya, yung may tumor yun doon. Tapos mabaho lagi ang hininga nila. Smoker na payat, tapos may mga kulani dito. That's nasopharyngeal carcinoma. Kita mo? Kulani pa lang yung pinag-uusapan natin eh. Pero if I give you a different scenario, what if Justin yung merong ganon, newborn, ano, bagong panganak na bata, tapos may tumor dito sa posterior to the SCM. Tapos pag flashlight mo, nag-trans-illuminate. What could that be? Pag nag-transilluminate, ano ibig sabihin nun, Justin?
May
Tumagos
fluid.
ba yung ilaw o hindi tumagos?
Tumagos po, Doc.
Tumagos. So what could the content be? Ang dami ko na palang chat. Okay, very good. Pagka ano, magsagot na lang kayo. Pwede naman kayo mag-unmute and then answer. Okay lang yan. Yung chat kasi hindi ko lagi bino-open. Go, go, go. Justin, anong sakit yon? Part ng exam nyo yun, bagong panganak na bata, tapos merong bukol dito behind the SCM, tapos nagta-transilluminate. Okay. Anybody with a guess? Zaira, ito na tawag. Zaira, ikaw ba yung may-ari ng pizza, Zaira? Hindi ikaw.
Sis.
It's a lymphangioma. It's found in the previous page. It's a lymphangioma. All right. So this one is a classic thyroglossal duct cyst. And the operation is called the cyst trunk operation. Okay. There you will see me cutting the hyoid bone here. This is the hyoid bone already. This is the chin of the patient. This is the sternum. Dapat makakat mo yung hyoid bone hanggang dun sa base ng pang. This is the cyst trunk operation. I always close as nice as I can. This is the operation for a thyroglossal duct cyst. Usual typical patient is a young patient, bata yan, elementary. However, ito kasing pasyenteng to, elementary pa, alam nyo na yung may bukol. The mass elevates during protrusion ng tongue. Ayan. Classic thyroglossal duct cyst. Okay. All right, let's go to a goiter. Kung si Lola, na-operahan na siya 1970s pa, no? Elementary pa lang ako nung na-opera siya. Tapos ito ngayon, may bago siyang goiter. Obviously, there is a previous thyroidectomy scar. All right. This is how you examine the neck. Hindi ko kamay yan, ang haba ng kuko niya. You go to the back of the neck and then you feel the tracheal rings. So ito yung series ng exam. From behind, you ask the patient to swallow. When you can still feel the tracheal rings, there is no goiter. Ang goiter is ito ang criteria for goiter. Number 1, a gross, ang basa doon sa GROSS, gross. No? A gross enlargement, meaning nakabukol dito, kita mo siya. Kaya nga hindi gross anatomy yun, gross anatomy ang basa. So, ang gross naman. So, you get my point. So, also on ultrasound, there is a doubling of the size. The normal thyroid gland is 15 to 25 grams. Pagka dinescribe nila na 30 to or more grams, that's a goiter. Or you cannot feel the tracheal rings anymore. So that will be your 3 signs of saying it's goiter. You ask the patient to swallow because if the mass moves on deglutition, that's a goiter. Also, you take the pulse rate. Ang normal pulse rate ngayon, hindi ko mabasa yun. Jessie, sino itong nasa baba mo sa screen? Charlene? Dr. Charlene. What is the normal pulse rate? Charlene, ano ang normal pulse rate?
Ako po ba, Doc? 60
baba,
to
Charlene.
60 to 90 po.
Very good, very good. So 60 to 90. Pagka 60 to 90, more than, pag may goiter, tapos ang heart rate niya more than 90, you call that a toxic goiter. Okay? Hanggang doon lang muna tayo. Saka na yung treatment. So you call that a toxic goiter. Pagka may goiter, tapos ang heart rate niya normal, you call that a non-toxic or euthyroid goiter. Hypothyroid, brady. Hyperthyroid, hyper. Right. And then you feel the trachea. Also, before you leave the neck, from behind, you feel the SCM this way. Hindi ganon. This is how you feel for nodes sa SCM. No? So, ganon. Let your fingers dig behind the SCM. Hindi ganun. Dig behind the SCM. Okay? Yan, tama si Dr. Jessie. Ganyan. Alright. Ito, this is a bronchial cleft cyst, type 3. She has this at birth. And then it's slightly growing. So, etong cyst na to, meron siyang connection doon sa loob ng trachea niya. Hindi ko na yan masyado i-detalye sa inyo. This is a type 3. Ayan. The type 3 bronchial cleft cyst is the most difficult to operate because yung kanyang duct, ayun, goes between the bifurcation of the carotid to enter just below the trachea, just below the vocal cords. So, kailangan makuha mo yun hanggang doon. So, it's a very difficult operation. Kaya nyo rin yan eventually. Kailangan lang ng knowledge ng anatomy talaga. Alright. This is not my patient. Nakita ko lang ito sa internet and this might be very useful for you. The dimple swallow test. Nagkakaroon siya ng dimple pagka nag-swallow siya. Right. 80% of the neck masses that you will see in the Philippines are inflamed lymph nodes. 80% of the masses that you will see in the neck in the Philippines are lymphadenitis or lymph node enlargement due to inflammation. Itong nasa left side nyo ay dahil sa kanyang pimples sa kakakulani siya rito sa submandibular area. Tapos ito naman, these are tuberculous. Ito ang distribution ng lymphadenopathy. 80% of the lymphadenopathy will be inflammatory. In the Philippines, tuberculosis is the most common source ng inflammation. Ipa-biopsy natin yun, of course. Pero diagnosis lang tayo ngayon. So, kailangan i-needle biopsy mo yan. Number 1. Number 2, 10% will be cancers from other parts of the body, a metastasis. Squamous cell being the most common. And lastly, yung remaining 10%, a primary cancer of the lymph nodes. Lymphoma. Alright, pagka may kulani sa leeg, ulitin natin, 80% inflammatory dahil sa infection. Tuberculosis will be the most common inflammation. The 10% will be cancer from many parts of the body, especially squamous cell. And lastly, will be 10% primary cancer, meaning ang may cancer mismo yung kulani. Okay? Miguel Angelo Haudian, starting 2012, 60 to 90 na lang sabi ng WHO ang heart rate. Before 2012, it's 60 to 100. Pati blood sugar nagbago. Doon sa memorandum ng WHO 2012, I remember February yan. So it is 60 to 90 na lang. Tachycardia na more than 90, bradycardia less than 60. Also, ang normal blood sugar, it used to be 120. Noong 2012 memorandum na yon, it's naging 100. So yun ang mga nagbago doon sa WHO memorandum 2012 February. And it still holds true until today. Okay, so ito may kulani sa leeg. Tinusok ko siya. I did a needle biopsy. Needle biopsy showed atypical cells to consider lymphoma. So hindi nila ma-differentiate kung what type of lymphoma. So I have to remove the whole mass. Pag nakakita kayo ng kulani na kulay violet, cancer yun. Okay? Anywhere in the body, when you see a violet-colored lymph node, cancer yun. If they are white or yellow, inflammatory yun. This is a primary cancer of the Hindi ko naman kayo tatanungin. So, on biopsy niyan ay atypical cells. Ito yung 10% of the neck masses that you will see. May exam dyan. Okay. Okay, so ayan yung, ito madalas ito. Pectus excavatum wherein the sternum is depressed, palalim. Problema ito ng cardio, tsaka problema ito ng anesthesiologist. Because the heart cannot accommodate yung sa diastole. So the diastolic function can be affected by pectus excavatum. Also, chest expansion will be limited. On the contrary, pectus carinatum, carina, parang pigeon breast, advantageous yan para sa heart. Kaya lang, these are just deformities without, walang masyadong pathology involved. They are just deformities. Okay, this is my son. So, ang ituturo ko sa inyo sa chest, ay combination ng auscultation at saka percussion. Malalaman mo kung tumor siya, malalaman mo kung tubig o kaya pneumothorax. Basically, we will be differentiating a lung cancer, a lung effusion like nana o dugo, or lastly, a pneumothorax, air in the lungs. So how do you differentiate them? Wala pang, kunyari, sir, naku, nasira yung x-ray. May pasyente po tayo sa ER, nahihirapan huminga. Madali lang yan. Auscultate ko siya, tsaka percuss. So, if on percussion, dull. Ang dull percussion, i-percuss nyo yung thigh nyo ngayon. And listen to that sound. It's a deep sound. Tug, 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 tug. That's dull. Pagka dull, pagkatapos with voice transmission, pag auscultate mo, sabihin, alam niyo yung tres-tres, di ba? Meron kayong tres-tres, tres-tres, tres-tres. Okay, sometimes I tell them, sabihin mo sa akin yung name mo. Bobby, 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 Bobby. You get my point. So, pag pinagsama mong dull, tapos nag-transmit yung voice, malinaw sa stethoscope mo, nadidinig mo yung Bobby o kaya tres-tres, tres-tres, malinaw. So that should be a solid lesion. So sino ang solid sa lungs? Bigyan mo ko ng isang solid sa lungs. Joanne. Susunod si Sandra. Solid.
Cancer?
Cancer, of course. Sandra, next.
Pneumonia po.
Very good. Lobar pneumonia. Okay? So, yun yung dalawang iisipin natin. So, it might be a consolidation or it might be a solid lung cancer, basically. Paano kung ngayon, dull nga siya, tug, 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 on percussion, dull, tug, 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 tug. Tapos, without voice transmission, meaning, yung tres-tres, ano didinig mo, parang ngongo. Ngongo siya. So, that should be fluid. Di ba pagka nag-submerge ka sa swimming pool, yung mga pinag-uusapan ng mga tao sa taas, you will hardly, basta nadidinig mo, nag-uusap sila, but you cannot discern kung ano yung pinag-uusapan. Gets nyo yan, Dominic? So, it's the same with auscultation ng without voice transmission. So, pag percuss mo, parang thigh, solid siya, dull siya, pero walang voice transmission, that must be fluid, and that will be either blood, pus, blood meaning hemothorax, pus meaning pyothorax, or pleural effusion sa pneumonia o kaya tuberculosis. Of course, tig-isang question yung dalawa. So, bigyan ko kayo ng ganyang question, give me a diagnosis, choose which one yung diagnosis of the four, or I'll give you, kunyari, pleural effusion, a massive pleural effusion will present in the same manner. In this manner. You get my point? Ganun lang example. Alright. No? This one is pneumothorax. The picture on your left is a pneumothorax. Nag-collapse yung lungs. Tingnan mo yung, look at the screen. Ito. Ang common complaint niyan ay nagba-basketball ang common. Commonly, lalaki to eh. Commonly, payat sila. Ang body habitus ng mga ito, matatangkad sila na payat. Pagkatapos parang butot balat. Yan ang usual habitus niyan. Tapos mahihilig yan mag-basketball. Biglang may parang popping sound inside. Pagkatapos nahihirapan na siyang huminga, hihiga na siya dun sa gilid, tapos he cannot breathe already. So, that's typical pneumothorax. Okay. So dapat yung body habitus niya pag payatot ito na matangkad, Tapos nahirapan biglang huminga. Pneumothorax yan. You get my point? Biglang nahirapan, nag-basketball kanina, tapos biglang tumigil, nahirapan. So, imposible namang consolidation yun. Imposibleng cancer yun. Kasi biglang-bigla eh. So, you get my point? Just by the history and PE alone, bigla eh. So, pneumothorax yun. The one on your right sa screen is a special kind of pneumothorax. It's called a tension pneumothorax, wherein because of the persistent leak dun sa lungs o kaya sometimes sa bronchi, patuloy na nagli-leak dun sa isang side and pushes the other side. Kaya nga tawag doon tension pneumothorax. This is a life-threatening situation. How do you diagnose it? Ang pag-diagnose niyan, it's very tympanitic. Para ka ng drum. Alam niyo yung usual drum na walang laman. Diba? So, an empty container, i-percuss mo ganun, nag-e-echo sa loob. Pagkatapos pagka inoscultate mo, walang voice transmission. So, classic yun. Now, in tension pneumothorax, the heartbeat, the apex beat is not found in the normal location. It's either too far to the left, meaning ang lesion, so yung apex beat goes opposite to the origin ng lesion. So pag ang apex beat mo nasa todo sa kaliwa, bakit nandito apex beat niya nasa may lateral chest? May problema sa kanan. Kahit walang x-ray, bakit yung apex beat nandito sa may sternum? So the problem is in the other side. Bakit kailangan nyo yung alam yung ganon? Kasi in that situation, there is no time for an x-ray. Kailangan right there and there, then and there, you will disinfect the area and push a needle to deflate the pathologic chest cavity. Pagka kumuha kayo ng needle na malaki, 19 gauge, or kung meron kayo ng mga Abucat Venflon, yung mga ginagamit sa pang-IV, na ang apex beat, kunyari, sige, simulan natin kay Angela, yung apex beat niya na nandito sa left lateral, saan ka tutusok? Sa kanan. Anywhere in the chest cavity sa kanan. Just avoid the cardiac shadow. Diba? Iwasan nyo lang yung cardiac shadow. So, it will be safe here sa lateral. At ito yung madidinig mo kasi I did this many times already, Pauline. Pagka nilagay mo yung needle na 19, pag gano'n, tapos buhay na yung pasyente. From a gasping patient to a live patient. Kasi life-saving yun. So, ang sarap madinig yung, ito joke namin to during residency. So, Tapos may intern na nanonood sa'yo. Tapos buhay na yung pasyente, may BP na ulit. Ganun. So, hindi na siya toxic. Now you have time for an x-ray and then bring the patient to the OR for thoracentesis. So, ang galing-galing naman ni sir. Yun ang mga biroan namin dati. Pucha, tumawa naman kayo. Pag nagjo-joke ako, kahit corny, tumawa kayo. Ha? Pag hindi kayo tumawa, hihirapan ko yung exam nyo, walang nga kayo. Subukan nila. So, just be jolly. So, para hindi seryoso masyado. Okay. So, this is how effusion looks like. Yung tubig sa baga. Be it pus, blood, or effusion. You call this the meniscus sign there. Parang yung tubig sa baso, mayroong meniscus. So obviously, that will be fluid. Kung hindi nyo masyadong kita, pahigain nyo sila in the lateral decubitus. So kung nasa kanan ang tubig, so you say lateral decubitus. Basta look for the meniscus sign. Okay, this one is a consolidation. Usually bata yan. Children with a consolidation, and they are really toxic. The most common cause of that pneumonia is staphylococcal. Yun ang madalas. Okay. I don't know if we can try natin. Okay, this is the... Teka, tanggalin ko muna kayo sa screen. Ayan. Dito kayo sa gitna ng screen. Alright. So, this is not my patient na wala pa akong cellphone nung residency ko kasi. Ang cellphone namin noon yung analog pa. But anyway, I cannot even afford a camera then. So when you see an agonal patient, this one is ang typical history is a stab wound in the mid-chest, usually in the xiphoid area. Ganyan dati sa Quiapo kasi ang FEU dati sa Moraita kami dati sa rector. Nandun ang FEU dati, nandun ang Quiapo. So common doon ang saksakan, yung usually ice pick. No? Kasaksakin ka rito di sa xiphoid area pataas. So alam niyo yung heart ang tinamaan nun. When they withdraw the ice pick, magkakaroon ng leak yung heart. However, the pericardium is really hard and in short, may ipon yung blood between the heart and the pericardium. So mag-accumulate doon yung blood. So kasi pericardial blood or fluid, so hindi na maka-expand. That's Beck's triad. So ano yung components ng triad? Neck vein engorgement. Subukan yung umiri ngayon, yung parang Jumejebs, lalakihan yung ugat mo rito. So Beck's triad, number 1. Faint heart sounds. Siyempre, may tubig between the heart and your stethoscope, di ba? So, faint heart sounds, and lastly, hypotension. Bakit walang BP to? Bakit wala akong madinig sa chest? Bakit engorge yung neck veins? Ano? Beck's triad yun. That's ang gagawin nyo dito, sa bagay, wala tayo sa treatment, pero this will be life-saving. A little reading. Actually, nung first kong pericardiocentesis, napanood ko lang doon sa consultant namin, but I had to do it sa ER, sabi ko doon sa senior resident ko, sir, meron ako dito ng stab wound sa xiphoid. Mukhang may Beck's triad, sir. Sabi ko, anong gagawin mo dyan? Sabi ko, sir, pericardiocentesis. Marunong ka ba niyan? Sabi ko, hindi pa, sir. O sige, gawin mo. Ganun sa residency ng araw. Marunong ka ba niyan? Hindi pa, sir. Sige, basta gawin mo. So, textbook mabilis and then basa. So, and then yun. So, pero ganito lang yun. In an emergency situation, you have no time to think. You just get the biggest needle that you can get. Usually, that's a spinal needle. But it should be a long needle. Or kung yung mga pang-IV natin na Avocat, Benflon, Introcan, pare-pareho lang yun. You just have that 45 degrees from the body and you aim either right shoulder or left shoulder. When I was your age, sa textbook namin dati, aim to the left shoulder. Pababang ganon, pag ganon. 45 degrees. And while you are aspirating. Wala kang tatamaan doon. Pericardium lang yun. And then you will get non-clotting blood. Meaning you are outside the heart. Pero yung sa textbook na bago, mas safe daw kung papunta rito sa right shoulder. 45 degrees aiming at the shoulder. Okay, so yung mas bago, but either way, basta alam nyo sa shoulder pa point, 45 degrees. Just put it in a syringe and then push down 45 degrees and then aspirate and then mabubuhay yung pasyente. Now you have time to bring that patient to the OR. So, small things like those, you can save lives. Okay, itong breast cancer kasi ako din na mag-discuss sa inyo ng breast cancer. Ba tayo umalis to? Sorry. Ayaw niyo umalis dyan. Okay, ako din na mag-lecture sa inyo ng breast cancer. So, alright. Okay. Ang number 1 sa breast ay symmetry. So, pagka asymmetrical yung breast, yung lumalaki o lumiliit, yun yung abnormal. So, look closely at the nipple on the patient's right here. There is blood there. So, this is an obvious breast cancer of the right. Okay. In males, enlargement of the male breast simulating the female breast is called gynecomastia. 2 reasons. This one is due to estrogen accumulation. So, bakit siya mag-estrogen accumulation? Can you give me one reason, Aljon? Bakit siya mag-estrogen?
Dok, nagtitake po ng...
Mismo, no? So yung mga gay community, nagpipil sila talaga to feminize themselves, so malaki yung breast. So that's number 1. Ha? However, lalaking-lalaki siya, Justin. Hindi naman siya uminom ng pills. Lasenggo nga eh. Typical yung mga nakikita yung mga lasenggo sa kanto, yung mga tagay-tagay. Yung lalaki ng boobs nila. They have man boobs. So that's man boobs are called gynecomastia. Why is that, Justin? Bakit naipon yung estrogen niya? Hindi siya nagpipills. And you will see spider angiomas like this one in the...
Sa ano po ba, Dok? Sa liver niya.
Oh, mismo. Cirrhosis yan. Because of the cirrhotic liver, it cannot dispose anymore the small amount of estrogen that the males have. Yun, tatapon. Alam nyo bang, turuan ko lang kayo, no? Ang estrogen ng babae, may estrogen din ng lalaki, pero konti lang. No? Pero, let's talk about testosterone. Alam nyo bang mas mataas ang testosterone ng babae kaysa sa lalaki? Yes. Ano? Totoo yun. Mas mataas ang estrogen. It's just, they are just feminized because mas mataas ang estrogen nila kaysa sa atin. It's a fact. No? Yeah. Okay. So ito, gynecomastia is a common phenomenon nowadays, especially in younger people, males, because of fatty liver, yung steatohepatitis, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. It's called NASH, N-A-S-H. Yung mga bata na anong nakakasira sa liver? Carbs. Fatty liver is not due to eating fat. Fatty liver is due to eating carbs. I used to have fatty liver in 2014. My waistline was 38. Now it's 33. Hindi na ako nagkakanin 8 years na. No? And then I try to skip merienda. So I eat 3 times a day or sometimes 2. Depende. So no more fatty liver for me. No medicine. Ayoko kasi yung man boobs. I used to have that when I was 8 years ago. No, meron ako niyan. Ang pangit. Tas yung tiyan niya, pag kinapa niyo yung belly niya, ang tigas nung taba. Hard fat sa tiyan. So that's a sign of fatty liver. Tatlo ang major causes ng fatty liver. Can you give me one, Gavin? Alcohol is, of course.
Alcohol.
Number 2. Pauline. Hepa B and C. Okay. And number 3 is fatty liver due to carb intake. Yeah, let's go. This one is breast cancer. So this is a very large. This is a cancer of the. This is my patient. Hindi yan galing sa internet. You will not find this in the internet. This is my patient with a sarcoma. No? Cancer siya ng pectoralis major. Kasi laki ito ng pitchel, yung mug ng beer, yung pitchel ng beer. So pagka nag-inuman kayo after graduation, ganun siya kalaki. Okay, ito naman nawala na yung nipple areola. So any non-healing wound in the body, be it in the skin, be it in the breast or anywhere in the body, any non-healing wound, you biopsy it. So pag sinabi ng pasyente, Doc, 2 weeks na po ito. The typical textbook recommendation is if you have a non-healing wound for 2 weeks, it deserves a biopsy already because that is suspicious for malignancy, right? All right. A fibroadenoma is a movable mass on the breast. Self-explanatory. Fibroadenoma is pag kinapa mo yung fibroadenoma, parang may holen sa ilalim ng unan mo. So it's freely movable and you can definitely feel the margins. It's called distinct margins. And move. You may or may not excise it. You excise it definitely pag more than 3 cm. More than 3 cm, it's called giant fibroadenoma. And giant fibroadenoma can become a malignancy. Definitely after 3 cm, you have to remove it. Sa Amerika, hindi nila yan tinatanggal. Actually, ganun na rin ginagawa ko rito sa atin. However, maraming pasyente, Doc, please alisin mo lang kasi napaparaning ako. So, total lumalaki naman. So, sometimes pagka 2+ na rin, natanggal ko na rin. Alright, this is how you examine the breast. This is my son, so para walang mali siya. Yung pandemic, yeah, ganyan. So you make a swooping examination below the areola. So i-lift nyo yung arm, ayan. Lift nyo yung arm and then you feel under the pectoralis major for some difference. That's how you examine the breast. Okay? Very sweet. Hindi ganon. Or lalo nang hindi ganon. So dapat naka-outstretch. Nakahiga sila pagka in-examine. Or with an outstretched arm, kayong mga babae, lalo na yung mga may cancer ang magulang, ang nanay, pagka at least once a month habang naliligo kayo, habang may sabon ang kamay, madulas yan. So outstretched arm and then you feel like this, you feel like that, feel under the kilikili. So that's how you examine quick. And then other side, ay wala. So that's how you quickly examine. Okay? Never do the examination using one finger. Maraming sinasabi sa libro na radial, marami circumferential, ano, so but this is the recommended examination right now. So quick scoop. Compare. Oh, may bukol dito. Teka. May bukol din dito. So normal breast yun malamang. Especially in the upper outer quadrants bago kayo magregla, normal. So when is the best time to have an ultrasound? When is the best time to examine yourselves? It is on the first day after menstruation. Yung unang araw ninyo na walang regla. Why? That is when your estrogen is lowest and doon smoothest ang breast. Pag may nakapakang bukol doon sa time na yun, pathologic yun. Alright? So remember that. Alright, this is a female presenting, tuwing uuwi siya, may mancha yung bra niya na dugo. 80% of bloody nipple discharge is benign. 20% is malignant. So, tandaan niyo yun carefully. No? So, the most common cause of a bloody nipple discharge is an intraductal papilloma. So, ang questioning dyan, a blank-year-old female presents with a bloody nipple discharge or blood-tinged nipple discharge. The most likely diagnosis is cancer, no? Kasi 20% lang yun eh. 80% is benign, intraductal papilloma. Imagine niyo yung tube na nagdadala ng gatas. So, gland, tube, duct, papunta sa nipple. So, yung tube na yon pwedeng magkaroon siya ng, nakita niyo yung mga papilloma dito sa mga matatabang diabetic na, you also have that sa loob ng, kuntil sa loob ng tube. So, sometimes it twists and bleeds. I think I have a, ayan, ito. Yun, no? Yun. Yun. Kasi kinukuha ko yung bukol eh. So nahadod yung bukol sa dinina. Okay? So you press, you want to see it again? You press papunta sa nipple. Ay. So benign. Maingay. Sorry, maingay yung nurse na. Okay. Sa abdomen, I think for lack of time, I only have 5 minutes left. So I was asking for 3 hours for this lecture, but ang binigay ng din is just 2 hours. So ibibigay ko sa inyo ito, the following are self-explanatory. And feeling ko lang, tomorrow I have another lecture in another section. I will start from here para kunin nyo na lang yung video. Nasa Moodle naman natin, di ba? So, para mapanood yung kalahati. So, ito yung take home natin bago tayo maghiwalay. How do you know that the abdomen is surgical? Yun ang gusto kong maintindihan. Paano nalalaman ng mga surgeon sa kapanya, sa kanyang history, na ito ay ooperahan o gagamutin? How do you know that? Diba? Di ba kayo nagtataka? Yun ang best question. Paano nyo nalalaman sa surgery na ooperahan ito? Number 1, pain precedes the fever. Pagka yung lagnat, nauna yung paglalagnat, tapos sa bandang, nauna yung abdominal pain, patindi ng patindi, tapos sa bandang huli, nandun yung lagnat. So pain muna, tapos sa bandang huli yung fever. That's a surgical abdomen. Appendicitis, ileitis, diverticulitis, yan, mga ano. So nauna yung pain, tapos sa bandang huli yung lagnat. Versus, pag nauna yung lagnat, kunyari naglalagnat siya ng 2 weeks, tapos masakit ang sikmura, tapos saka mag-abdominal pain after 2 weeks, hepatitis yun. Ang history niya, 2 weeks epigastric pain, 2 weeks of fever and malay. Yung malay nga pala, let me tell you, malay yung malay. Mali yung malay. Ang basa doon ay malaise. You don't even have to say body malaise because malaise means generalized body weakness. So just say malaise. Parang mo may sinabing may UTI po kayo sa ihi. So redundant. So may breast mass po kayo sa dede. So you get my point. So it's very redundant. May hematuria po kayo sa ihi. So you just say malaise. Ang basa doon malaise. Hindi malay. So, number 1, pain precedes the fever. That's your first clue. Number 2, direct with, especially with rebound tenderness. pag diniinan mo doon sa lugar, tapos binitiwan mo, pareho nung ruptured appendicitis na nilap ko kanina. Sabi nung magulang, sure po kayo appendicitis yan. Sabi ko, yeah, sure ako. No. Pagka humali ako, hindi ko kayo sisingilin. Pero sabi ko sa kanya, pag tama po ako, doble yung singil ko sa inyo. Sabi. Okay, listen, joke yun. I told you, pagka nag-joke, tawa kayo. Okay, sige. I'll make your exam very difficult. Okay. So, sige. So, number 1, pain precedes the fever, surgical abdomen. Number 2, direct, especially with rebound tenderness. Rebound is when you remove your hand. Ganito ang pag-direct tenderness, didiinan mo gently. Ang rebound is when you release, ganito yun, look at the screen. Ang pag-release ng rebound, hindi from the wrist, hindi from the elbow, from the wrist lang. Kasi sobrang sakit noon, ano? Kagaya kanina, from the wrist na nga lang ko talaga, That's the typical response of a surgical abdomen. Okay. And lastly will be muscle guarding. Matigas yung tiyan, ano? Pag nagdududa ka, matigas yung tiyan, isama mo yung kamay niya para malaman mo kung voluntary or involuntary. Have the patient's hand together with your hand. Mawawala pagka tinitigas niya lang yun, tapos dinidiinan mo. Pagka sinama mo yung kamay niya, mawawala yung voluntary. Pag matigas pa rin kasama yung kamay niya, that's really involuntary. So those are your 3 signs that this abdomen needs to be opened up. Number 1, pain precedes the fever. For example, appendicitis, abdomen, periumbilical pain, kakaroon ng anorexia, nausea, vomiting, sa huli, fever. Get my point? So, pagka nauna naman yung lagnat, for example, right lower fever for 2 weeks, now developing right lower quadrant pain. Hindi, typhoid yun. Hindi yun appendicitis. Gets nyo ba? Bakit 2 linggo ka nang nilalagnat tapos ngayon lang sumakit yung tiyan mo? Typhoid ileitis yun. And that's purely medical. Or 2 weeks epigastric, 2 weeks ng fever, masakit ang katawan, malaise, saka prodromal symptoms, parang tatrangkasuhin. Tapos ngayon may epigastric pain. Hepatitis yan. Susunod na yung jaundice. Alright? So I think I have to leave you. We're past due the required time. Mapuputol na rin to eh. So I hope you enjoyed this part of the lecture. So maigsi na lang tong abdomen. I'll be lecturing tomorrow sa slides. Alright? I'll make the exam very easy for you kasi nakikinig kayo tsaka tumatawa kayo sa joke. I'll make the exam very easy for you. So, what's the point of making it difficult anyway? Papasa rin naman kayo. So you get my point. So, I hope to see you sa next sem na, hindi sa... Okay, thank you for listening. See you soon.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Doc.
Thanks.